Sir Mano, come play with us! Grandpa is waiting!
I'm coming, don't worry. Come on, children. I'm going to teach you my favourite childhood game, Nine Men's Morris. Sir Mano places the nuts, and I have to put the beans on the board in such a way that 3 of them are forming a line or a mill. And that's the game. Me and Rika are one team, Zete and Sir Mano the other. If I create a mill, then Rika will remove the nut indicated by me. If Sir Mano has the mill, then Zete flicks the indicated bean away. Everyone got it? Now, let's get started, because it's nearly lunchtime. Another day passes, another bell tolls.
Grandpa, why are they ringing the bells?
If you got a bell, you might as well ring the thing, that's what I say.
Isn't it the priest who decides when the bell should be rung?
It is nowadays, but it was actually the Pope who originally gave the order. Oh, we have the first mill. Rika, you can take that one off. Now, where was I? Ah, yes. For a very long time, the borders of Christian Europe were protected by us, the settlers and the Hungarians, from invading Turks. And the bells are rung every day at midday, worldwide for all I know, because in 1456 we stopped the Turks conquering Europe at Belgrade, once and for all. I was right there.
Really?
Oh, yes. When the Turkish Sultan reached our walls with his army, he had more soldiers than there are blades of grass in a meadow. But then, on one side of me, I saw John of Hunyadi with his 10,000 men, and on the other, 30,000 crusaders. Thanks to them, we won the battle. I came storming out that castle and punched a Turk so hard on the nose that the 2 others behind him also hit the ground. Oh. Zete, we have a mill. You may remove this inner one. As for the bells, in the 3 weeks leading up to the battle, the Pope issued a decree that people should pray every day at noon.
So that's why you pray at midday when the bells ring.
Sharp as a tack, Zete.
Mill!
Before we became Christians, we used to wander about, pulling down bells from churches like picking cherries from a tree. We were feared right across Europe. In those days, all we cared about was being free to roam, not ringing bells.
We have a mill!
But when St. Stephen converted us to Christianity on Christmas Day, 1000 AD, then we started to ring bells. After that, most of the bells in Europe were guarded by the Hungarians. The elders tell a story about a legendary knight called Chombod. When the Tatars attacked his castle at Maroshsek, he hid his bell so effectively that to this day it's still not been found.
Oh, finally our luck has turned.
Mill!
And another one for us.
Then there also came a time when people started removing bells from church towers to melt them down to make cannons. And this wasn't so long ago. In fact, it was in 1848, during our freedom fight. That's when Gabor Aron forged the first cannon. Hang on a minute. With all due respect, I think you're forgetting the inventor Janos Böhm. Why? Well, I'll be the first to admit that Gabor Aron was a great cannon maker, but he wasn't the first. That honour goes to this chap Janos in northern Transylvania. Did you know that? I've no doubt this Janosch was a skillful man, but it was our Aaron who promised to stand in front of his own cannon if it failed. In my book, that makes him the father of all cannon makers. That depends on how you look at it. During the First World War, they collected bells like mushrooms to turn into cannons, and folk gave them up willingly, reasoning that the more cannons they had, the sooner the war would be over. Well, I'd question how willingly they did it. Some, sure, but not everyone. There was at least one priest who, second they heard they were coming for his bell, locked the tower and disappeared with the key, never to be seen again. Yes. By this time, people had come to realise how useful bells were. They didn't just call us to mass. They also rang to signal that the enemy was approaching. The bells even rang as a warning that bad weather, such as a terrible hailstorm, was on its way.
And they protected the harvest and the livestock from curses.
They also scared away grubs that would eat the crops.
Goodness! Who would have thought there would have been so many uses for a bell?
For us Hungarians, it represents the weekdays, the feast days, and our entire history. Well, yeah, I agree with that, if nothing else. Finally, he's making sense.
Grandpa, can I have a go at ringing the bell?
Well, it's not as easy as it seems. There's a real art to it, and it takes skill. Not everyone can ring a bell well. For example, there was an old man at Auckland who'd been the village bellkeeper for 50 years. The story goes that while he was keeping vigil at his mother's bed, someone new rang the bell for him, and the chiming was completely different. So he approached the local priest asking, "Please let me ring the bell for my own funeral." I even know his name. It was Egyed Moses. The priest was completely astonished. "How can you chime yourself if you're not alive?" Moses replied, "Well, I shall do so well in advance, because nobody knows how to do it as well as I do."
Grandpa, Zete is cheating!
Now, Zete, better to lose with honour than to win by cheating. And that is the game done, children. It ended in a draw.
Hang on a minute. Can it end in a draw?
It does sometimes happen that nobody wins. Not just in games, even in war. But you're still a winner. You've learnt a new game. And you got to find out about one of the most glorious battles in our history.